We're glad you joined us today on The Final Takeaway. Here we dive deep into current events as well as social, cultural, political, economic, legal, and geopolitical issues affecting the people. Our content seeks to encourage critical thinking and informed discussions on topics important to the public. Don't go anywhere, there's a lot to unpack about this breaking development on the Adriana Younge case. Following an initial autopsy that ruled Adriana Younge succumbed as a result of drowning, a second autopsy was done to review the findings. The re-examination was conducted days ago in Georgia, United States, by a new pathologist, Dr. Carol Terry. We already posted a video on the second autopsy, but in today's video, we will take a forensic look at Dr. Terry's observation, findings, and reservations as provided to Guyanese reporter Travis Chase from HGP-TV. Dr. Terry, the chief medical examiner of Gwinnett County, Georgia, revealed that the second autopsy for Adriana Younge was carried out with limitations from the beginning. She emphasized that the remains were, quote, compromised before arriving at the autopsy facility in Georgia. Terry said this hindered the findings of the post-mortem re-examination. Let's listen.
The examination that I had the opportunity to do is compromised at this point because, again, it's a second autopsy. So we have issues of artifacts that are introduced by the first autopsy. We've got decomposition that has taken place, and we've got embalming that has occurred. That introduces a lot of artifact to the body, and it compromises the examination somewhat. But this diagnosis and this investigation doesn't hinge just on the autopsy.
She took the time to clarify that the re-examination was mainly a, quote, quality control exercise, adding that the first autopsy presents the ideal opportunity to assess the body and optimize sample collection. Before we dig a bit deeper into the embalming issue, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and turn on YouTube notifications to keep up with the updates. See all the links below to our social media platforms and reading resources below. Muchas gracias. Now let's turn our attention to the embalming situation. And I'm taking care to be mindful here because emotions are still raw concerning Adriana. A family lost a daughter, a sister, a granddaughter, a friend. And Adriana's family are still uncertain as to what transpired on the day Adriana went missing to the time she was recovered. They're still searching for answers and are taking steps to try and accomplish that, which includes requesting a second autopsy, seeking embalming procedure, asking for foreign investigators to get involved, demonstrating, and all those types of things, okay? Being mindful about that, we're going to discuss the embalming procedure and how embalming in general can impact an autopsy. Adriana's family opted for embalming for preservation purposes as they awaited approval for the second autopsy. And by all means, they did what they believed was best in the circumstances. There was pretty much no other way around it, and it's not for us to judge their decision. As helpful as it can be, embalming does have its downsides when it comes to autopsies. So a key question here would be, how does embalming impact a post-mortem procedure? And again, we're speaking in general about any and all autopsies that are done following an embalming procedure. Embalming before or after an autopsy interferes with the integrity of the findings or results in a variety of ways. For example, the procedure creates clinical injuries that can be mistaken for pre-mortem trauma. For example, injuries could look like trauma that happened before the death. And that's what pathologists mean when they say embalming introduces, quote, artifacts. A next thing that can happen with embalming is that it can lead to changes in the state of the organs and tissues. Embalming can also destroy or contaminate fluids that can be helpful for toxicology testings. From a legal standpoint, embalming can be considered tampering with evidence, potentially leading to charges under laws pertaining to the destruction of evidence. And again, it all depends on the jurisdiction. This may not apply to Guyana or other countries. After her initial assessment, Dr. Terry reports that the first autopsy, which was done in Guyana, was done correctly, thoroughly, and competently. Those are her words. This is except for minor differences in clinical techniques used in the first autopsy. Dr. Terry found no signs of trauma. This finding aligns with the first autopsy report The initial report, as reported by the Guyana Police Department, states that a pathologist found no form of trauma. People are questioning how this is possible based on the appearance of Adriana's remains at the time when it was recovered from the swimming pool. A Canadian investigator specializing in homicide and suspicious deaths cases recently reviewed the case files compiled by the Guyana Police. His report states that there is, quote, no evidence of foul play, as the family and others suspect, despite the lack of trauma signs and in the absence of the results of the toxicology and other forensic tests. The Georgia pathologist withheld her opinion on the cause of death. Here's why.
At this point in time, I would not come to that conclusion. I think that there's a lot of information that needs to be gained, a lot of investigation that needs to be done. Drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion, and by that it means that you have to exclude other potential causes of death. And oftentimes when a body is found in water, the assumption is that the person has drowned. There is nothing at autopsy that is diagnostic of drowning. So again, that's what I mean by saying drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion.
Keep in mind that the first autopsy determined that drowning was the cause of death. Adriana's family had some reservations about the findings, which led them to securing a second autopsy for clarification and confirmation. Further, the absence of signs of trauma does not mean that this death is unrelated to criminal activity. However, an investigation by the Guyana Police has already wrapped up, and they have sent their files to the Department of Public Prosecution for guidance. So again, the absence of physical signs of trauma does not mean that the person may not have lost their life as a result of a homicide. Conversely, and in this particular case, the presence of fluid in certain organs is not conclusive of drowning. Dr. Terry explains why.
There's certain things that we can see that would be supportive of drowning, but are not uniform. People will talk about fluid in the lungs. You may or may not have that. People will talk about fluid in the sphenoid sinus, which is a sinus that's at the base of the skull. Again, you may or may not have that with drowning. Typically, you do have that with bodies that are in water, but that happens whether they're alive at the time they drown or if they're in the water and they're already deceased.
Adriana's life came to a tragic end sometime between April 23rd and 24th, 2025. The adolescent was last seen in the swimming pool at the Doubleday Hotel at Tushin, East Bank, Essequibo in Guyana. Despite other people were in the pool and around the pool during the time of her disappearance, no one seems to know what exactly led to her disappearance. It seems as if she vanished in plain sight and reappeared in the same pool approximately 20 hours later. What baffles her family and eyewitnesses the most is how she magically reappeared in the said pool after it was searched multiple times by different people. If you know something, say something. If you have evidence, turn it over to the authorities and help these families get a clear picture of what happened to their beloved child. Thanks for watching and for subscribing if you already have. That's all we have for now. Stay safe.